Okay, I'm recording here. I'm going to go live on Facebook. And number one. Okay, today is just I'm going to share some of the best advice, some of the best things I've ever experienced that I have been using for years, and I cannot wait to share this with y'all. This thing has made such a difference in my life, my business, like on every level. Okay, let me make sure we are live. Okay, got it. Let's see. Hold on. Hey, everybody. Make sure that I am seeing you guys live on Facebook here. 1 second. Okay, perfect. All right, great. Oh my gosh, what an amazing day. We have so much to do today. Also, Micah and Amber, if you wouldn't mind, please also on the other screen, watch the Facebook page just in case there's people that are trying to join so you can let them in. And if you guys are watching on Facebook and you have a question, feel free to plug it in there and ask the question. If you'd like some one-on-one coaching about some of the things we're going to talk about today, you can join our VIP. It's only $30. The Facebook is always free. You can go into that and look at all of our past trainings and recordings. The one thing that we do separately is our one-on-one coaching that we do in our private VIP room. The reason is because we want that to be a safe place for people to talk openly, right? About sometimes these things are vulnerable that people talk about, and that's not something we just broadcast out there. So it's a much more contained, smaller group. And so Mike is going to put the link in the Facebook page if you'd like to join our VIP. And we have a lot of clients that are actually here with us in VIP today. So you might hear from some of them as well. And you also get all the recordings because we've been doing this live for almost 2 weeks now. And Friday is going to be our last day of live. I know you guys are going to miss me. You're going to wake up and go, oh no. But the beauty is there's lots of different ways to work with us. And you can always join the Facebook group for free. We want to meet you where you are. If there's something that you need help with, support with, especially if you're an author, speaker, or a coach. I want to share the tools that really have helped my company grow. I also have a lot of mentors like Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Oprah Winfrey, maybe a few people you might have heard of that I've learned a lot from over the years. And these are personal mentors or people that I've worked with in some way or another and continue to work with, and have learned so much from them where you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars hiring people as a mentor or going to their workshops to be able to learn from me, what I've learned and applied in my own life and business. So I hope that's helpful to you. This is what I say when I say borrow my business brain. So today is going to be really special because, it doesn't matter if you're an author, coach, speaker, business owner, the one thing everybody wants is they want to get more business. They want more clients. They want to sell more books. You want to book more stages. You want to have more people. You want to have more reach and impact, right? You have an idea. You have a story to share, something so powerful. Now, some of you may not know what your purpose is yet, and that's okay. Some of you may feel like, hey, I'm good at this thing, but I don't love it. So I'm going to teach you 2 tools today that are going to be life-changing for you. And I know because I've used these tools for years and I have watched them literally transform lives in minutes. These are tools that I use in my own programs. One of them I created and I've been using it for years. The other one I did not create. And I will share that with you as well. So a couple of things. Let me think of which one I want to start with. Okay, so for number one, let's start with this. Okay. All right. So number one, this is for people. This is called the purpose tool. So some of you in my little group here, you know this tool. You might have used it before. If you're a coach, or you want to be a coach, the only thing that's going to matter is how many tools you have in your arsenal, right? It's all about tools. I always say it's like being a handyman. If you show up at a house with a hammer, did you guys ever see Step Brothers? Did you ever see the movie Step Brothers? If you did, put it in the chat. Oh my gosh, that movie was so funny. I literally fell off my bed laughing when I was watching it, like crying, laughing, especially if you watch like the unrated version. It's so bad that it's good, right? But there's this one scene. Wait, was it Step Brothers? Oh, no. I'm sorry. This was I think it was called Stepdad with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. Okay, I think it was called Stepdad. And Will Ferrell is the stepdad of these kids. And Mark is like the actual father, and he comes in and he's all buffed and he's like blue collar and he knows how to fix things. And Will Ferrell is kind of like this wimpy guy with great credit who has no idea how to fix anything, right? And he shows up and he wants to try to impress his wife, and the stepkids of like how he can fix something. So like, they get a hole in the wall. And so Mark, they go to his toolbox and the only thing he has in his toolbox is a tampon. Okay. Like, I mean, this is hilarious. And he says, well, it helps with bleeding. So, so not only is he not good at fixing anything, but apparently when he tries, he bleeds. So, that does work, by the way. If you have something where you're bleeding, like your nose or whatever, like, yeah, you can use that. So anyways, I just thought that was hilarious. So obviously you're not going to be a respectable handyman if you don't have any tools. And if that's the only thing in your toolbox, then you definitely are going to have some trouble. So what I want to teach you, and you notice every day I give you content, I give you a tool, something you can take action on, and then also give you an opportunity to work with us if you want to develop those things faster. And this is what I recommend that all of you do with your own clients. The reason that some of you are here on Facebook is maybe you are in this group already. We have about 850 people, or you're on our email list, and we actually send an email out inviting you here to our Facebook group. We use Facebook as a broadcast device. So we might use StreamYard as another option that goes to all of our social media channels at once. In this case, I'm on Zoom. I'm broadcasting live to Facebook, which you can broadcast live to Facebook or YouTube and a few other channels inside of Zoom. I record it and then I upload it to YouTube. Okay. And these are also tools. And then I'm live with my VIP in Zoom. So what I'm doing is creating content live with y'all that hopefully has some value for you that I can use later. And I can even pull sound bites from this for articles, for trainings, or even use this in one of my courses. Okay, so this isn't about spending a lot of time to figure things out, right? This is not recreating a bunch of stuff. It's taking one thing, spending this little bit of time we have together today, and being able to use this for lots of different purposes. And at the same time, serving each of you. Okay. So that's a couple of tools and examples of StreamYard, Zoom, Facebook. Got it? Okay. So this purpose tool, this is something that I will give you permission to use. Okay. And if you use it, please just give my company credit, because I created this tool many years ago. My company is very purpose driven. We love helping people find their purpose. We love showing people how to take their purpose and monetize it as a speaker, author, coach, business owner, influencer, innovator, thought leader, right? That giving you these platforms to be able to expand and take your business or your life or your practice to a whole new level. So this tool is one of the most valuable that I've ever used, and it is called the Purpose Tool. And what you can do is, and this takes a few minutes, and I have used this on a plane, okay, with people. Like I met a guy on a plane years ago. I asked him these 3 simple questions. It blew his mind. And he was in Germany working for BMW. And he was a young guy, probably in his 20s. And when I asked him these questions, it had this huge light bulb went off, and he realized he wasn't living in his purpose. He thought he was, because he loved cars, and his dream was to go move to Germany and work for BMW, and he was doing it. And then he realized that something was missing. And when I asked these questions, the outcome actually helped him realize that he wanted to be a farmer and live in the United States and get married. I mean, that's a very different outcome from what he was currently doing, right? And that was an alignment that was found through this tool. And he emailed me about a year later and said that he had moved to Iowa or somewhere. He had bought this farm. He, sold his car, had a truck, and he met this girl and they were getting married. And he said, "Thank you so much." And I'm like, "Am I invited to the wedding?" And I literally sat next to this guy on a plane. Okay. I have used this at church, at a grocery store, when I meet somebody, on a plane, on a bus, in a box with a fox. I feel like Dr. Seuss, right? I have used this tool all over the world for thousands of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, because as a speaker, I also use this tool when I speak. So you guys can learn from this. Those of you that are speakers, show me in the chat. How many coaches do we have? If you're a coach, please put it in the chat, because I want to know how many coaches we have. Coach, put it in the chat. If you're an author, put author in the chat. And it's okay if you're a coach and an author. If you're a speaker, put speaker in the chat. I want to know who you are. Or business owner. I want to know who you are. I want to know what you do. Okay, perfect. Coach, consultant, author, speaker. I love it. Hi, Erin Kate. Good job. And those of you in Defining Moments Facebook page, I can see your post. I am watching you on Facebook as well. Okay, perfect. So here's how you use this in every context. If you're an author, speaker, or coach, if you're a coach, you can use this as a tool inside your coaching, whether you're doing one-on-one, group coaching. If you build a course as a course creator, you can use this tool in a module. Okay. If you're a speaker, you can use this tool when you speak. The secret to good speakers is you have chunks. Okay. I call it Warner's words. And I learned this from the guy who taught Tony Robbins. And I spent $5,000 to go to Vegas for a 3-day workshop to learn these things. Okay. It's costing you guys nothing today. All right. Maybe some of my VIPs that spent $30. Okay, here you go. All right. And when I was at that event years ago, there was a young kid on the front row. This was about 15 years ago, and his name was Russell Brunson. And he ended up starting ClickFunnels and has made hundreds of millions of dollars since then. Some of you may know who he is, but he was at that conference with me. And this is what I mean about investing in yourself. Okay. He learned a lot from there, and he took what I'm about to teach you with these tools and turned it into a huge business by creating tools. I have another company, a friend that is a husband and wife. They're married. They teach people how to not get divorced, and they charge $15,000 a year, $15,000 a year. And they have a 1% divorce rate and a 99% success rate. And it's a lot cheaper than the average divorce that's 100,000, but they have 200 tools. So those of you who are coaches, you don't have any tools yet, I got you. Every day we feature tools. Go back and watch in the Facebook page, grab those tools. You all can use this. Use my tool, but just give our company credit. Melanie Warner, Defining Moments. This is our tool. It's a proprietary tool that we use at our company as a purpose tool. Okay, you ready? You ready, ready, ready? Okay. And if you guys, Amber, if you wouldn't mind, Amber's one of our resident writers, ghost writers. She does so many things in our company, has worked with us for 9 years. I want to say shout out to Amber and Micah. Thank you guys for being here in the chat with us as part of our team. Amber, would you mind putting these questions in the chat for people? Okay, so ask yourself these 3 questions, and I want you to write it down, and I want you to think about what your answers are. And I want you to put it in chat. Okay, I want you guys, are you guys going to participate if I do this? Because I want you to see how this works. Okay, so question number 1. What do you do that you're very good at, that comes naturally to you, that's difficult for other people? Just one thing. What is one thing that you do that comes naturally to you? Like you didn't have to go to school for it. You were kind of born with this skill, this talent. What is the one thing you do that you're really good at? Okay, it could be communication. It could be relationships. It could be making money. It could be singing. It could be talking, speaking, helping people, right? Think about it. What's the one thing you do that you're very good at, that comes naturally to you, but is difficult for other people? Okay, if you're good at sales, some people just aren't good at sales. Some people are great at public speaking. Others are deathly afraid of it. You see? Now, I will tell you with these 3 questions, I have never ever in all these years with thousands of people have ever had anyone give the same answers. That's how I know this is an individual thing that is meant for you. Okay. All right. You ready? Everybody got it? Okay. I want to see the answers. Put it in the chat. And if you're watching this replay back, we can see it. I want to see what your answers are. This is really important. So what's your answer to number 1? Okay, put it in the chat. Okay, you ready for question number 2? All right. What would you do for free for the next 2 or 3 years if you could do anything you want and you don't have to worry about money? Your bills are covered, your finances, your family, everything's covered, and you could just do whatever you want to do the next 2 or 3 years. Even if you don't get paid for it, what would you do for free just because you love it that much? Put that in the chat. Question number 2. Okay. I'm going to look at some of these here. Okay, you guys got it? Put your answers in the chat because I want to see them. All right. You ready for question number 3? All right. Question number 3. What do you do to give back? Okay, what do you do to give back to the world, to your community, to the economy, to, being green or conservative? What do you do? Do you volunteer? Do you donate money to a church or a charity? What do you do to give back to the world, to the planet, to people? That's question number 3. Put your answer in the chat. Awesome. Micah, could you also put the VIP link in the Facebook page too, please? Thank you. Okay. Oh, Viva says, okay, good, speaking. All right, so you guys should have answers now for number 1, question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. Now, if you're just jumping in here, go and do this now, but answer question 1 first, then answer question number 2, and then answer question number 3. Okay. And I want to see, I'm going to look in here real quick and see what some of your answers are. Okay, Viva says, number 1, speaking, number 2, travel, number 3, volunteer. Great, good job. All right. Okay, so Viva, I'm going to pick on you for a second. I'm going to use yours as an example. Okay, Erin Kate says, number 1, listen to people, help them through hard things, get courage to come on the other side and make them laugh. Okay, so inspirational, motivational, coaching kind of thing. Number 2, perform to make people think and laugh. Okay. And number 3, I give hope. That's what you do to give back. I love it. We always say we need more hope dealers. We got plenty of dope dealers. People are self-medicating with dope. We want them to start self-actualizing with hope, right? Nigel said, travel the world and fire people up. There you go. All right. So now I want you to take a look at your answers. Okay. And number 1, number 2, and number 3. And if your answer is the same for all 3 questions, that is your purpose. Okay. That's your purpose. If it's not the same, then you need to tweak something so that it becomes the same thing. Right? So for example, let me go back here. Let me go back to Viva real quick. Speaking, travel, volunteer. Okay, so what could that mean as purpose? If you're a speaker, then you could actually do all of those things, right? If you have a voice, and you have an amazing voice, girl. Oh my gosh, your voice is amazing. It's so powerful. It's mesmerizing. People want to listen to you, right? So you obviously have a gift of speaking, and you're very eloquent in how you speak, and the way you present is so professional, and you talk about money and you want to empower women. Okay. So speaking is a great thing for you, because what's it going to help you do? Travel. You can also volunteer your time. You can make an impact and help people. So do you see how if she put speaking, travel, and volunteer, those things are all aligned through speaking? Right? If you could just travel the world as a speaker and get paid, or even if you speak for free and you want to learn how to make over 100,000 a year, and by the way, get your travel paid for. How many of you would love to travel the world? Put travel. How many of you would love to travel the world and get paid to travel and make money speaking and making impact and sharing your story and your purpose with others? Wouldn't that be amazing? Guess what? I do it every day. I just came back from Mensa 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas, right? And I spoke in front of some people there. I'm going to Dubai, and I don't even know how many people are going to be there, but they're paying me $20,000 and paying all my expenses, first class accommodations with a guest. Okay. And then there's other things like Rotary where you can speak for free, but if you have a way to monetize it, which we'll show you later, I'm going to show you how to do that, then, you can still make money even if you speak for free, especially if you have a book. So all of you authors out there, becoming a speaker has this natural progression. Your book becomes currency. Okay. When I speak, like I got hired as a keynote speaker for an event, and they said, we don't really have a big budget, but we have a budget for books. I said, great, buy 100 copies of my book for 2,000 or for $20 each. That's $2,000. And then I showed them how to get sponsors immediately so that they could actually fund the event and pay my speaker fee. So they're buying books. And I said, I'll even help you sell the books at the event and sign them. So I know, because I know what happens when I get up to speak. There's people that go over and like they all line up on the wall to talk to me. And the funny thing is, somebody said, well, what are they waiting? What are they waiting for? And someone said, oh, they're waiting to, to talk to her and get a book. And that was like before I even had a book. I'm like, oh crap, I guess I better write a book because they're ready to buy my book and I didn't even have one. Because I've been speaking for many years before I wrote my first book. So I can tell you the value of this and how, when I spoke at my church and I sold hundreds of books by just sharing my testimony of my story about faith and what I had to go through when I lost my son, right? And that inspired a lot of people. And then I talked about in my speech, if that I was going to be at the back of the room if somebody wants to come talk to me, that I have all these books here, I have a few books available, and that they make a great gift. And my first book was about coping with the loss of a child. So when I spoke about as a speaker at that room, and I asked people, how many of you have lost a child or know someone who has? Guess what? Every hand went up. And I said, how many of you have wondered what to say? Or even worse, like for me, when people saw me at Target, they would literally turn and run the other way because they didn't know what to say. And there is nothing to say that's going to bring that person back, right? So how do you give hope in a hopeless situation like that? How do you love on somebody when you don't know what to say? You can give them this book as a resource. And guys, I have been hired as a speaker to speak at funerals. I've been paid to speak at a funeral and write an obituary for a child I've never met. How do you do that? Right? Like that's not easy to do, but there's templates. There's a process for everything. And I've learned all these things along the way. So it's amazing how many opportunities there are to speak. In fact, I have 4 emails just that came in the last 24 hours looking for speakers. So those of you who want to be speakers, there's so many more opportunities than there are speakers, because right now, I know Viva's on here. I know Erin Kate's on here. I see a few others. I see Laura Duncan on here. I see some of our authors, but I also see people that I know some of them are coming to our speaker certification. We actually have a live event coming up next month where you can come hang out with me in my private home near Yosemite, and we're going to get you certified, help you come up with a signature speech, learn what to say, how to say it, and we're even going to record it on the 3rd day. So you're going to have a speaker reel and a professional photographer to take your picture. It's phenomenal what we're doing. And so I would love for Micah to put that in the chat, that link. If you want to join us, you can click on that link, or you can hop on a quick call with us. You can book a quick call, fill out the application, and if we have questions about it, we can jump on a call with you, because I really want to make sure you have some of these pieces put together. Because the idea is that when you speak for free, you don't get paid to speak at TED Talk. You don't get paid to go on Good Morning America. But if you have these books and you have a course, or you have coaching tools, or you have the ability to help people, and this is what you're doing for a living or as a business, you can monetize this so much more, even if you give your book away for free, even if you speak for free. Okay, you guys can do this. And we have lots of people that are doing it every single day. Laura, I thought of you because I got an email from somebody who literally said, I'm doing a workshop on mental health and I need 20 speakers. Well, guess what, guys? We only have 10 that are coming and that are going to be part of our speaker bureau that we're building now. I created a speaker bureau because I get so many people asking us to speak, and I can't speak at everything. And I'm not qualified to speak at some of these things. I'm not a mental health expert, right? I mean, I could definitely talk about some of these things, but that's not my specialty. Okay, if you're a motivational speaker, if you're a life coach, if you're a healer, this woman specifically said this is about how to overcome anxiety. And she said, oh, and I want to especially find people who can use music as therapy. And like, ding, 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 that's Laura and Jeff. Okay. So it's like, you wouldn't believe the opportunities that are there. And when we go into VIP, I'm going to get into more detail about this. I've got a couple of people I'm going to put in the hot seat, and we're going to go through and we're going to spell this out for you. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about how you structure, how you get booked more as a speaker. We're going to help someone formulate their signature story. And then we're also going to pull in somebody and break down how they can get a sponsor for their big idea, their brand, or their book, and how to get people to pay for that before it exists. Right? Today. Okay. I just got off of a call where in 1 hour, okay, basically it came up with a concept, book title, webinar, website, book cover, even wrote the book from just this concept in 1 hour. Like, it's amazing what you can do with the right team. Now, it usually takes us a few weeks to do that. I recommend about a month, but most people can do it in 8 weeks or less if they get out of their own way, right? If you want to learn how to do that, you can reach out to us. I'd love to jump on a chat and have a quick chat with you to tell you how we do it. But for today, I want to go back to these tools. So that purpose tool is so powerful, right? And I want to make sure that you guys understand exactly what the power of this purpose tool is, because a lot of people are struggling when they're not in purpose. When they learn, and Mark Twain said, there are 2 very important days in your life. One is the day you were born. And the second one is when you find out why you were born, right? And when you are living in purpose, you can't wait to get up. You have this endless energy and this passion that's driving you. And you are so ambitious and driven to reach and impact and help people, but maybe you don't know what to do. Well, we can definitely help you with that. Okay, I'm going to go into tool number 2 to stay on track here. So I want to talk about real quick, Tony Robbins. Okay, when Tony was a teenager, some of you may not know this, but when Tony Robbins was a teenager, he went to a workshop that Jim Rohn did. You guys remember Jim Rohn? Big motivational speaker. Okay. Tony loved Jim's energy. He loved his stature. He loved what he represented. And Tony was just like some of you going, gosh, I would love to be able to do that. How does he do that? How does he make money doing this? How does he charge for this? How does he find out where to speak? And he remembered Jim Rohn. Okay, let me back up. He said, I want to work for you, Jim. And he waited in the back of the room till Jim's speech was over. And this was like a live workshop back then. They didn't have the internet. And back then you had to pay to book a hotel. You had to put ads in the newspaper and on TV to drive people to this workshop in a hotel room. And you were literally spending thousands of dollars and hoping people would show up. It was crazy. And that was back in the day. Like, this was 30 years ago. No. Oh my gosh. Holy moly. 40 years ago. Okay. So Tony was a teenager. He's in his 60s now. He fell in love with Jim Rohn and said, I want to work with this guy. I will do anything to work with you. So he goes and approaches Jim and says, I'll do anything to work with you. And Jim says, great, come back tomorrow where I have my high level, program we just pitched. And if you pay for the program, you can come work for me. Right. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to come work for you for free and you're going to give me the course for free. No. Jim said, you go find the money and you come back tomorrow. Well, this was like 5 p.m. And so Tony is like, the banks are closed and I can't even get a bank loan. I'm a teenager. No one's going to give me any money. No one took him seriously. No one thought he had anything in him. He was just some young kid who had no money, that was broke, but he had this big brain and these big ideas and this huge heart for wanting to serve, but he had no tools, no influence, no clients. So what did he do? He went out, he asked his mom. She laughed at him. He went and asked some of his friends, his family. He didn't have any clients. He couldn't get the bank to do anything. He was trying to find odd jobs. They didn't have GoFundMe back then or Kickstarter campaigns. He was thinking of how many lawns he would have to mow to try to raise the money. I think it was like $1,500 or $2,000, something like that. It wasn't like $100. It was like $2,000. It was a significant investment. And he kept trying and trying to figure it out. He got creative. He worked all night long trying to come up with ideas. And again, it was way easier today to do it than it was back then, right? And he scraped together a little bit of money, like $500. And he went to Jim and said, this is all I've got. Jim took the 500 and said, great, come back when you have the rest. And this was like a 2 or 3 day event, I think, something like that. So Tony was, scraping away, trying to find it, and he finally found somebody. I think it was, he stood there at the event in the lobby of the hotel, and he found somebody that said, okay, I'll help you out, but you got to pay me back, and you got to do this work for me to be able to fund it. Like, I will loan you the money, but you got to pay me back through the work or whatever. So he finally finagled his way in. He gets in and goes through the course and is blown away at these tools that he learned from Jim Rohn. And then he ended up pitching Jim on, look, okay, now I want to work for you for real. What can I do? Jim said, well, I'm not hiring anybody but sales. If you want to do sales, you can come do sales. So, and so Tony ended up going to work on his sales team, and he worked in commission only. And you know what Jim told him? Jim said, now do you understand why I told you you had to find the money? Because every day you're going to talk to people on the phone. They're going to tell you they don't have the money. And you're going to tell them your story, and that's going to impact them. And if you don't do that, if I hadn't done that for you, then you wouldn't be authentic when you're telling people, I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but what I found is there's always a way. There's always a way to do it. So he said, now you have this authentic voice when you talk to people and they try to give you their story of how they don't have any money, and you can share with them your story. And not only will you relate to them, but they're going to be able to connect on an empathetic level, right? And then, so one day, Tony was working for him, and he went to his events as well. And Tony became one of the #1 salespeople for Jim Rohn and made a lot of money for Jim and for himself. Then he decided, okay, now that I understand the sales and marketing side, which was the most important part, then I need to start getting tools in order to do this on my own. And he heard Jim say one day, just one day in passing, Jim said, you know how I built my company? I went out and spoke once a day. I went out and did speeches like this every day, once a day. And he would go and speak for free. But he would pitch his courses, or he would talk about what he's doing, and he would enroll people in this concept of working with him, just like he did with Tony. And Tony heard that and thought, wow, if Jim did that with one speech a day, what could I do if I speak 4, 5, 6 times a day? And remember, Tony has this he's like beyond the Energizer Bunny. I think they created the Energizer Bunny from Tony Robbins. He has so much energy, more than any human being you'll ever meet in your life, still does. And now he can't even talk. He has this, his vocal cords are paper thin, and he can only speak for 1 hour a day. And it is torture for him. It's literally torture for him, right? So what's interesting is, after all that Tony learned, he realized that if he's going to go out on his own and he's going to make money doing this, even though he had the sales skills and the marketing side, and he knew how to book the seminars and get people to show up and get what they call the butts in the seats, he still had to develop tools. So he started learning NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. He started becoming a life coach. And some of you, the first time you ever heard of Tony Robbins, you probably heard of him as a life coach, right? You probably didn't think of him as a business.
Busy.
Hey,
yeah, I'm preparing for.
Can you please mute everybody?
My book launch. I'm going to be with my publisher
Richard. I can hear you, Richard.
10 days.
Okay, Richard, you're multitasking. I love you. Okay, Richard's a beast, by the way. He's doing some incredible things, and Richard's going to be joining us. So I see Richard is here. Aaron Kate is here. Viva's here. Several people that are going to be joining us in Yosemite for our authors and our speakers retreat. That was so exciting, you guys. I can't wait. And by the way, those of you, how many of you want to write a book? How many of you are authors? Put author in the chat. Okay. The same time, we're going to be doing this 3-day workshop to train you on how to do all this as a speaker in 3 days. Just like the speakers are coming for 3 days, and then the authors are coming for 3 days. So if you want to write a book as an author, guess what? We just did it in an hour. We put all these pieces together in an hour. So we can do it for you in 3 days, where you're going to have everything you need to launch and print and be going and get your book ready to go in 3 days, even if you don't know what you want to write about. I wrote my last book in 36 hours. And today we just did it in an hour. We did it. I mean, it is insane. writing the book, coming up with a concept, designing the cover, creating a website, creating a press release, okay, and building social media graphics and all that kind of stuff. It can be done, and actually writing the book. Now, this was a short ebook, like 40 pages, but you can expand on it when you add tools. So when you have tools and you put it into a book, you have your outline, your table of contents, okay? I mean, all this was done in an hour. That's what I'm talking about. When you have other people that know what to do and there's no fear in the process because they just go do it. We have done for you, we have done with you. Now, the done for you, we do that for people and we can usually do it in 30 days or so. That program costs like 25 grand. That's not always affordable for people. The done with you is a fraction of that because you're doing some of the work and our team is doing some of the work. But we actually launch your book to #1 on the bestseller list, and we cover all of your marketing. And our marketing goes out to over 1 million people. Plus, we show you how to pre-sell your book and how to target the right audience so you can actually make money before your book is even written. In fact, Travis here in our VIP on Friday said, okay, I said, Travis, you should write a book about this big idea that you have. And he's like, okay, I was thinking I should write it when I get back in 2 years. I said, no, you need to write it now about how you're preparing to take this 14,000 mile journey. Everybody wants to know how you're preparing for it. And there were people in the group that said, I'd buy your book. I'd sponsor you. So Travis came in just not even a week ago, 5 days ago, with this idea and already has people supporting it and funding it. Guys, this is what happens when you live in this world of I'm possible. Out there, this is a safe place. This is where every day we are crushing it and showing you what's possible. And there are people that have been on these calls for just the last 10 days that have already had progress. Nigel's in here, and Nigel is an author, speaker, coach, and he's already booked like 4 or 5 things between actual paid speaking gigs and different things like podcasts and stuff like that, just from doing the things we're telling him to do and saying just this challenge of like, okay, do it now. Don't talk about it, go do it. Here's what you need to do, right? So this is what is all about by using these tools to create value to help solve someone else's pain. Do you guys understand that? Especially if you're talking about nonfiction, right? Where you're helping people walk through something. So our author event is also coming up next month in person. Some of you need to just get it done. You need to get immersive and just blast out those details. You've been putting it off for a while. You've been trying to do it on your own. We can help you with that. And if you're not able to come and meet us live, then we also have online training. We have a whole year. Like imagine if you learn all this in an hour, what's it like to spend a year with us? I mean, mind blowing, right? We walked Sadie last week in VIP through how she could leave her government job and how to create $60,000 in the next 60 days. That's $1,000 a day. And she's on track to do $240,000 this year. If she gets that set up. And guess what? You get 3 clients, you can get 10, you can get 20. It's not a big deal. But some of you don't know what to sell. You don't know how to price it. You don't have any tools. That's what I'm giving you today. So another tool I want to give you, and this is the most powerful tool. I built this on my entire company was built on this tool. And many years ago, I was at an event with Frank Kern. Okay, Frank, do you guys know Frank Kern? I love Frank. He's so fun. He's so disarming and humorous and charming. And he's this digital marketing guy. I didn't know anything about digital marketing. I know marketing. I've owned magazines and newspapers for 30 years, and I've bought a lot, like millions, if not billions of dollars of media as a media buyer. I own an agency. We have a done for you service, but the digital marketing thing was all new, like paid social media, paid ads, internet stuff. Like I had to learn all that. I had to pay to learn that. So I had paid to go to San Diego and go to this event, okay, with Frank Kern. One of the speakers at this event, by the way, those of you that are speakers, you can do an event and invite other people to come speak. And what happens when you go speak on other people's stages? Now you get exposed to their list. Okay. Now I want you guys to be honest for a second, because the list is the #1 thing you need to do. If you have a book, you drive people to an opt-in page and you build your list. If you're a speaker, you must have a list. If you have no experience and you don't know what you're going to talk about, and you have no video of you speaking, and you don't have a list, why in the world would people pay you to come speak at their event? If you don't have any kind of training or tools or clients, if you have nothing yet, you've got to develop the pieces, right? It takes a few steps to make this happen. Because otherwise, if you don't really know what you're doing and someone books you as a speaker and you screw up and you don't know how to make this work, then you may not get invited back, because it's a very small world and people talk. So you want to be prepared, okay? But here's the deal. I want you guys in the chat and be honest. How big is your list? Okay, how big is your email list? I'm not talking about social media. It doesn't matter if you have 1 million followers. Frank's the one that said, so far I haven't been able to deposit the followers in my bank account, right? So I'm talking about an email list. Do you have 5 people? Do you have 100? Do you have 5,000? Do you have 100,000? Put the number in the chat and be real, because you need to be aware of the number. I want to know where you're at, because we're building this whole list builder training. It's going to be a 3-day event where I'm going to show you exactly how to build your list, which we did it as well. We went from 1,000 to 5,000 in a few weeks doing this. Okay. So going back to this as a speaker. Okay, good. I'm seeing a couple 625. Okay. And you may not have a CRM. JP says 2, no list yet. Okay, good. Travis, we talked about that list on Friday, and you now know how you can do it. Okay. So here's the deal. American Idol, you guys know this, when they do their auditions and the news promotes it for free because they're a big TV show and it's a big deal. So they get free promotion and publicity. They go into a city. They get all these people who dream of being singers that most of them can't even carry a tune if it had a handle. Okay. And yet, what do? They get thousands of people to show up and wait in line for 2 or 3 days to audition, and they have to fill out a form. That's called an opt-in form. And they use that form to build a list. It's an email list. Okay. And they market the show to their fans. So guess who watches the show? The people who didn't make the show. And so, they've got millions and millions and millions. Probably 100 million people on their list. Now, who would want to be on that list where you could get on a stage and have that much exposure and reach that many people? That's pretty huge. But let's just say, oh, and by the way, there are more people that voted for the last American Idol than voted for president. That's pretty sad, right? The US government doesn't even have an email list like that. But what did they do? They created value. They created an experience. So those of you that want to be speakers or coaches or authors, you need to start by building your list. There's a lot of strategies of how you can do that before your book is written. And I don't have time to get into that today, but another time, if we can finish it, we will. Okay. So list building is important. Even if you just have a few hundred people on your list, okay, you can build it. So let's say you get invited to speak at an event. And let's just say you have 1,000 people on your list. Okay. And there's 20 speakers and they each have 1,000. Now you're going out to 20,000 people. Do you guys get the math? 20 people, 1,000 each. You're getting in front of 20,000 people. When the email goes out about this summit or this speaking engagement with all these different speakers, your face is on there, your information is on there. People sign up for this summit and they pull from everybody's list. When you speak, you have to create a valuable offer. It's one of the things we're going to do in VIP is creating a valuable offer today. We're going to put somebody in the hot seat, come up with an offer that's irresistible so that everybody's going to want to go like, ooh, I need that. Okay. So when I'm speaking to speakers and I say, hey, who wants my list of the top 50 people that are booking speakers right now? Who wants the list? Put speaker list in the chat if you want that list, right? That's a real list. So what happens is you email me and then you get into an opt-in. So, and you get tagged in our CRM as interested in speaker. So every time I have something for speakers, I'm only emailing to that segment of my list. Okay. You have a default list. I might have 20,000 people on the list or whatever, but I'm not going to email 20,000 people every day because that gets annoying. Right. But my list, just even like in the last few years, I didn't know the value of an email list until my mentors taught me that. And guess how much it cost me to find that out? $12,000. Okay. It's not going to cost you that much because you have me and I love you. And you're like my children and my family all mixed into one. I want you to make money so you can support me in retirement. I'm just kidding. Richard's like, yes. Okay, I'm not going to have you, come take care of me at the nursing home, but you know what I'm saying. So the idea is that you want to build your list. So if you don't have a list, how do you grow it? You start speaking, you go to Rotary. Okay. I want you to go, every single person right now on this call. We did this in VIP last week. Okay. This is Rotary. And I'm not going to forget, I still have to finish my story about Brooke. Okay. You go to rotary.org. I think that's the email. I think that's the website. Or just actually search for Rotary in my area because they're all over. They're international. Okay. Sadie even said they're in Colombia. Just go Google Rotary in my area. It will pull up in your zip code, the local Rotary group, and it will give you contact for the local person. And I want every single one of you, because you're here, you either own a business, you want to start a business, you're a speaker, author, or coach, right? That pretty much covers all of you. Then I want you to get used to speaking in front of people. And I don't care if you're sweating buckets, okay? But reach out and just connect with the person who books the local Rotary group and go speak to them. Just say, hey, I'm a speaker. They'll say, great, what are you going to talk about? You got to decide. Pick something, any subject. How I overcame my divorce. How I bounced back from bankruptcy, foreclosure, the loss of my son, tax audits, tax court, divorce, you name it. I got a lot of things I could talk about. Richard is smart. Richard has on his website, he has a list of stories. That's why Richard is getting booked already. In fact, Richard, and some of you that are coming to our May event, you guys don't know this unless you got the email, like Aaron, Kate, and Richard and Viva. I already have speaking engagements for y'all. Some of these things that came through, some of you are ready. Some of you may not feel like you're ready. That's why I want to dig deep today and help you get ready. So you guys are going to get to watch some of these speakers who haven't even come to the training yet, get this absolutely valuable training that's going to help them formulate their signature story so they can start getting booked immediately. Because even though they haven't come to the training, I got opportunities for y'all. And some of you would be a great fit for some of these as well, but you need to develop the pieces. If you don't have yourself speaking on video, this is how you do it. You go to Rotary, you speak for free, you develop some special offer that you can drive people to your list. And if you don't have a book, that's okay. It could be a one-page report. It could be a free consult. Okay. So when I would speak at a church and I say, how many of you have lost a child or know someone who has, every person in there raised their hand. They know the suffering and the level of suffering. I could have offered a free consult as a grief coach. Okay. But what I did is I said, I'm going to be in the back if you want to talk to me. And I remember once this guy came to me and he said, I don't even go to this church. I was driving through town and God told me to stop and come in here. And he said, I want you to know, I lost my son 5 years ago and it has ruined my life. And I have been suicidal. And I was leaving town to go back home. I don't live here. I was here for business. And I was already thinking of how I was going to plan to take my own life. Like literally, I don't know why I came to this church today, but I do feel like I was led here. And he was crying and I was crying and we hugged each other and he got my book. And I knew that that guy had hope. And I plugged him in and even introduced him to somebody at the church and said, this is Doug. You need to meet Doug because he lost his daughter, Molly, the same way in a drunk driving accident. You guys need to chat. And they went and hugged and talked about everything and exchanged numbers. I mean, gosh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that moment when you actually meet the person you wrote the book for. And you go, wow, all of it was worth it for that one person, just one person. And when you see that, and it happens for years, every day, when I got a phone call from John Legend and his wife, Chrissy Teigen, when they lost their son, Jack, and I sent them my book and my workbook. We had a mutual friend and they reached out and said, this is my friend who is their personal masseuse. He goes, they're really struggling. They need your stuff. And I've known that guy for 25 years before I was even an author. And he knew the value of what I was doing. And he even opened that door for them to have my materials. Okay, when I spoke at Mensa, Sadie was there. There was a woman that came up and she bought literally every book I had. I had like 4 or 5 different books there. Sometimes I'll go to an event and take your books with me because I buy a bunch of my author books in bulk when they launch, right? Because I love getting them out to people and I give a lot of them away. And that promotes you because everywhere that book goes, they're going to see you, they're going to see us, they're going to see other people that were featured in that book, right? So a book becomes a tool and you can either give it away and sell your product or service on the back end. And either way, you can serve people through those tools. Okay, so I'm going to finish my Frank Kern story. I was at San Diego and one of the speakers, her name was Brooke Castillo. And Brooke was talking about how she had just gone from 300,000 to 3 million in 1 year using this one tool. Okay, this was many years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago. I remember meeting Brooke at that event and I was sitting out there in the crowd and she was picking on me because I was answering things and she was calling me out. And this woman Frank calls her the butt kicker of all butt kickers. Okay. She went from $300,000 where she had a $97 offer a month. Okay. Where if you needed a life coach, you could, for $97 a month, you could hire her as a life coach. Right. That was it. And then she started hiring other people. So she started a certification program and that was the only offer. Hire a life coach. People would come in, use the tools and get so much transformation that they would become a life coach. So then she created a certification program. Listen to me. She created a certification program. And guess how much she charged? Put in the chat. How much do you think she charged to get people certified as a life coach? Okay. And remember, this isn't a license. It's a piece of paper. It's like when you go to college and you get a degree, I call it a receipt that you put on your wall. This is, I spent 200,000 at Harvard. That's what it says. Okay. So you're getting a certification. And when you get certified as a life coach, it was a year. You spend 6 months learning the tools to become a life coach and another 6 months learning to build a life coach business and get clients. And you can generate $150,000 to $200,000 a year for the rest of your life. Now, what do you think that would be worth if someone could teach you how to do that? Anybody put in the chat. I'm curious what you guys think. I'm looking at my Facebook friends here, what you guys are putting in there. Okay. You guys are putting in here. Okay. 10K, 3,000. Okay. 10K, 10,000 per member, 25,000, 997. I mean, 1,000 or 10,000. Sorry, Travis. I love it. It's like the Price is Right. 10,000. I'm going to be 99.97. All right. You win a prize. Okay. Well, Nigel will win the prize because it was $25,000. So she had one offer for 97 and one for 25K. Now, Frank said to her on the call, I saw when he said to her, you're not charging enough. You need to raise your price. And she's like, but if I raise my price, I'm going to lose people. So she went from 97 to 197 a month. Guess what? She added another 100 people. Okay. Then he said, you need to raise it again to 297. And here's the formula that you send them this every month and you do this and you have this kind of coaching and it's group coaching and blah, 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 blah. So he created this structure for her. Now she raised her price again. How do you think the people felt that were paying 97? Now they're paying 297, but she added value to what she was doing. Okay. And then she had one offer. And then what happened is now there's a waiting list for almost a year because in this tuition-based program. So for $25,000 in 1 year, which is less than any college, campus out there that I know of. Okay. She can teach you how to make $150,000 to $200,000 a year consistently for the rest of your life with your knowledge. Okay. Just as a life coach, no background, no special license required, just the certification. Then she would hire them and work with them. Okay. Today, anybody want to take a guess what her company is worth? What she makes per year? And what happened is after she went from 300,000 to 3 million in 1 year with this model, one offer. Okay. The next year she went to 5 5 million, and then 12 million, and then 30 million. Now she's at $100 million a year with one offer. And she uses this main tool. This tool is what she used as a speaker that day to hook me, because it really made me realize that some of you may already know this, but when you change your thoughts, you change your energy result. When you have positive thoughts about something, you have a positive result. When you have negative thoughts, you have a negative outcome. How do you manage that? This was the #1 tool in her platform. She did not create this tool, by the way. She did not create it. And I didn't create it, but I have used this tool, and this is the #1 tool that I've used besides the purpose tool in my own program. And it's in our author program and everything we do, because it is so successful. And it is something that every one of you can use right now. And you can use it when you speak, just like Brooke did. And from that day forward, I followed Brooke. We got to be friends. I started following her. I love what she did. And I know a lot of people that have gone through that program and have modeled what she's done. And she's so transparent and helpful in what she does. But she only works 3 days a week. She is militant about that. She works Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. She takes 2-hour walks with her dogs every day. She has more money than she'll ever need. Now it's about helping other people succeed. That's what drives her. Okay. So that tool is called, let me see, let me put it in chat here. I'm going to spell it out for you. Okay. It's called CTFAR. CTFAR. Now put it down the page, put the C and then underneath it, the T, the F, the A, and the R. Okay. I don't have a visual board behind me, but you guys get the picture. I don't have a blank piece of paper here I can write it on, but let's see here. Okay, let me just do it like this. Okay, can you guys see that? I know it's not a Sharpie, but it's okay. It's just, you want to write it down like that. I have this all over my house with little Post-its everywhere. Okay, so the C stands for circumstance. Okay, the T stands for thought. The F stands for feeling. Some of you analyticals, it's going to go crazy if you don't know what this is up front. So I'm going to tell you now. The A is action. The R is result. And anytime something happens in our lives, any circumstance that happens, it's going to trigger a thought. That first thought we have is either positive or negative. And it's almost always negative, 80% of the time. And this is where we have the power to turn it around, because we're aware. Now that you'll have this tool, you will have it for the rest of your life, just like I did. And it will change your life and your business and your children's life and their wealth and their knowledge if you teach this to them. This is free. It doesn't cost you anything to teach people this stuff, you guys. Okay. You have a circumstance, triggers a thought. The thought triggers a feeling. That feeling triggers an action. That action triggers an energy result. So if your initial thought is negative, you might have a negative situation. When my son died, all I could think about was, my son died. He's never coming back. He's never coming back. He's never coming back. Like, that was this mantra that I kept, and it would just make me so sad. And I just fell into myself, and I kept focusing on the fact that he died. I wasn't focusing on the fact that I didn't. My son died, but my life didn't. It felt like my life died. So I was thinking of all this negative stuff. Okay. So here's the circumstance. My son died in my arms. Okay. My first feeling was, obviously, I was sad. I was shut down emotionally, and my head was spinning. I can't believe this happened. Why? I kept saying, why? There's no answer to why. It's a selfish thing, and it holds us back. I never got an answer to why, any more than I would get an answer to why did I win the lottery and somebody else didn't? Why did my son die and not someone else's? And why did I live? Why? And there's other answers to those questions that will move you forward. Like, what am I going to learn from this? How do I move forward? Who am I going to meet instead? Those are journalist questions that where can I go from here, instead of asking why? Okay. That's another quick tool, the why tool. And we have one called the why not tool. So anyways, I won't get into that because I want to finish this. So I would have this circumstance, I would have these negative thoughts. I was so depressed and so sad that what did I do? That it triggered, the thought triggered a negative feeling. I shut down. And when I was shut down, I didn't take any action. I didn't care if my business survived, if my marriage survived. So what do you think was the result of that? I got divorced. My business, after 20 years, shut down. I was making $1 million a year. I ended up losing everything, my only source of income, and became a single mom with 3 kids living on unemployment at $1,800 a month. That's nuts. Okay. I don't want that for anybody. And guess what? None of it helped my situation. None of it was bringing my son back. Right. But I know how it feels to be shut down and lose literally everything in my life and have to start all over in my 40s. It was scary. No, actually, I was in my 30s. It was really scary. Even though I was young, I thought it's going to take me 20 years to rebuild that. It took me 20 years to build it. I don't want to spend 20 years redoing it. Oh, and then I had tax audits and I was being accused of owing 3.6 million in taxes as well. Yeah. So that wasn't fun. So every day I had negative thoughts. Every day I didn't even want to get out of bed. I literally just wanted the pain and the pressure to end. Have you ever been so broke it hurts? Where you have to give back food at the grocery store? I remember our dog died and I was devastated because I didn't even have $100 to properly bury her. I still regret that. There's things I didn't get to do at that time in my life because I just didn't even have the money to eat and survive. I know what that feels like. And I know what it takes to get out of it. And this formula got me out of it. Because the only thing, when I lost everything, there was a point that all I had was my kids and my health. That was it. And I was grateful to have those 2 things when I had nothing else. And I had to start all over. And I mean, all over. And I wasn't even starting at 0. I was upside down 3.6 million. Okay. So some of you like, oh, I owe 5,000 to the IRS. I'm sorry, I can't make it to your event. Okay. Hello. I wish I only owed 5,000 to the IRS. That would be amazing. I wish I could live on $1,800 a month. I would have so much more money to play with and travel with, right? So the thing is, it's all about your perspective. You can't change the circumstance, but you can change that initial thought, because if you have a negative thought, you're always going to have that end result. And you can draw an arrow from the C to the R. Okay, because it's always related. And it's interesting because if you also reverse engineer this and you look at negative results in your life and you go backwards up this same formula, you're going to find that it came back to the thought, not the circumstance. Okay, when I got divorced, what was my mantra? You guys have mantras, right? My mantra was, all men are bad. No man wants to get married. All men just want to play around. They don't want to be serious. All men cheat, right? So if I believe that, and obviously it's a limited belief, but at the time that was my belief. I was very angry. I was very hurt. I was very, devastated. And I had also experienced losing my son, right? All these things. And it was easy to just blame somebody else than to see where I was in this picture. And when you blame someone else, you give away your power. When you say that person caused you pain, if that boss didn't treat me this way, I'd be happier at work. If only my husband made more money, we'd be happier, right? If only. It's always about, if this person does something, then my life gets better. That is a victim mentality. That is not a victor. A victory person, a victor says, my life is going to be freaking amazing no matter what that loser does. You know what I mean? Especially if somebody hurt you or abused you or robbed you or owes you money. I mean, because people are going to let you down. The flesh always fails. It's just human nature to screw things up sometimes, whether we intend to or not. People are going to owe you money. They're going to disappoint you. They're going to die on you. They're going to leave you. They're going to hurt you, right? And you've got to find a way to manage that, because if you go off the rails with anxiety and depression and you stay focused on those feelings, it is going to destroy your life, your finances, your health, and your relationships. And you have 100% control over that. And I'm giving you this tool right now so that it never happens again. So I want somebody to think of a negative situation. Maybe it's a heartache. Okay, I remember dating somebody that this person was just like, I thought like, oh my gosh, my soulmate, right? I loved him so much. And it was after my divorce. I didn't think I could feel this again. We had such a strong soul connection. I'd never felt that in my life. And I thought we were going to get married, but he had been divorced twice. And his mantra was, I'm never getting married again. No, first of all, he said, you date for a year and then you get married. Well, that's how he got married twice. And it didn't work out because he was just, going through the motions and he wasn't really looking at the person. You date for a year, then you get married. Okay. That was his formula that he believed. Okay. Then he got divorced twice and said, I'm never getting married again, never getting married again. And I said, why don't you change that to I'm never getting divorced again? Because if you're with somebody that is a healthy relationship where you're happy and there's growth and you're supporting each other, and it's different choices that you made when you were younger, there's a better outcome. But no matter what I said or no matter what I did, this person just could not commit. And I stayed in it for 7 years, because I kept telling myself, well, someday he'll figure it out. Someday he'll come around, right? And he had moved for a job. So he wasn't even local. So we were trying to do this long distance, which he didn't like long distance. And I was trying to keep myself connected to him. And I wasn't open to trying to date other people. And we'd break up every year. We'd break up because he'd go, you date a year and then you get married. Oh, but then the other side of him said, never getting married again. So then we would break up every year because he's like, well, can't get married, got to break up. Then we get back together and repeat that cycle for another year. It was insane. It was incredibly painful. Right. And it was all because the circumstance was happening. And in my head, I thought, this is my soulmate. He's the only one, right? Come on, like we all say that. We, especially as women, oh, the only one I'm ever going to love, the only one. And when we give our power away, and women do it all the time, we give our power away to somebody else, there goes our happiness. And if we think that these things are happening outside of us, they're not, because every problem we have is a thought problem. Every problem we have is a thought problem. So once I started shifting that thought, I got a different result. Okay. When I started realizing that even though this person was amazing and he was my best friend and I just loved him dearly, it wasn't fair to me. I had my own needs and I had to set those boundaries. Right. And as much as I had all these tools and relationships and all this other stuff, I wasn't practicing it because I was letting this negative thought overrule everything. And then I shifted and changed that thought that had a different feeling, a different action, and a different result, right? And I mean, believe me, I went through this for so long. And then when I finally got off of it and realized, okay, this person has no intentions of ever changing, right? Don't fall in love with the someday person. Someday, because that you can't date potential and you sure as hell can't marry potential. And sometimes when you're young, that's all you have is potential. But if you fall in love with a someday person, then you're always going to be waiting. And it's such a tempting thing. Okay. And that's just one example in a relationship. Okay. It could be your finances. You might say, oh, I'm not making any money. I'm not making any money. I'm not making any money. I'm broke. I'm broke. I'm broke. Okay. When you say that, what happens? You have a circumstance. You don't have any money. The first thought is, I don't have any money. I don't know how to make money. I don't have any way of making money. What does that trigger? A feeling. What is that feeling? Negative. Sadness. Ugh. The pit in your stomach of being so broke, it hurts. Then what's the action? You don't take any action because you're broke and you don't think you have a solution. So what's the result? You stay broke. Okay. When instead you say, here's my circumstance. I don't have any money. And your thought changes to, I don't have any money, but I'm going to learn how, because I see that there are tons of other people out there making money who have less than I do, who have just used an idea or a thought. Okay. One of my favorite quotes from Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill is he said, more gold has been mined from the thoughts of man than has ever been taken from the earth. It is a value to have an idea. And everything that you see around you was created from an idea. Everything, that coffee cup, that chair, this house, those light bulbs, this ring light, this computer, this Apple phone, this, everything around you was created because it was an idea first. So when you get this straight in your head and you get your own thoughts straight, then you can produce the action. If you don't control the thought that triggers the feeling, then your actions are always going to create negative results. Is this resonating? You guys feeling this? Is this helping some people? I think there's some people that needed to hear this, right? Now, some of you who are part of our group have been using this tool for a long time. I don't even think it has an official name. I call it the CTFAR tool, and you will find it all over my house and in my kids' rooms on Post-its, because they think about this every day when they have a test. Oh my gosh, mom, this test, I'm not ready for it. I'm not going to do it. I suck at science or math. It's just so hard. What do you think is going to happen if that's their thought? Their feeling is, I can't do it. The action is going to sabotage them, and the result is they're going to fail. But if their thought was, okay, I'm going to study, I'm going to prepare, I'm going to do everything I can, I got this, I'm going to figure it out, then their feeling is hopeful. Their action is they're going to show up, and their brain is going to activate and connect on all cylinders. And the result is they're going to do better simply because they had a different thought process. Do you guys know how powerful this really is? How little we actually use of our brains, right? So 2 tools we went over today, right? Just to recap, we went over 2 tools: the purpose tool, the CTFAR tool, the Brooke model, the Brooke Castillo model of the Life Coach School.
Looks like we lost her. She's out in Never Never Land.
Well,
Okay,
Amber's
you
the host
you
now.
get to take over then.
I think she logged off, Richard, to log back in.
Yeah, she'll pop back in.
Yeah, I know.
So Richard, tell your story about how you use CTFAR.
Well, that is new to me. Those terms that's is new to me, that type. I've used so many different things like that. But I mean, my mentor is still Napoleon Hill. I studied him when I was 12 years old. And
Wow.
I have followed his example. Every 5 years, I lay out a plan. I read it when I was 12, started when I was 15, and now I'm 82. So I got 3 more years to go, and then I will write my next 5-year plan. And I've done it my whole life, and it's worked out very, very well for me. Every 5 years, I get the goals that I've set, I accomplish them, and I always do quite well in them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's super impressive.
It's I've been there, done that, got all the T-shirts. I got quite a collection. Now, Aaron, I see. How are you connected with the group? Are you new, or you've been with them for a while?
I signed up in, okay, don't laugh at me, December 2021. And I'm just finishing my book now because I have a speaking gig. I've been doing a couple speaking gigs along the way, and I started my own business in 2019, and I've been told I should write a book, and I know I love to write, so I decided I would just do it, but I'm a perfectionist, so I've been stalling, and so it's about ready to go. So that's how I'm in here. And I met Melanie through the Tony Robbins stuff. I was a coach with Dean Graziosi also.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's a great background. Yeah. Well, I was before Tony Robbins was around. I was before Darren Gray was around. I was before all the people were around. So I've seen them all evolve and all do their greatness and their sharing the way they want to do it and to help so many people. And it's great. I mean, everybody has a story. Everybody has a book to write. Everybody can do it. Everybody can help each other. We can all help each other. And I don't know if you've heard me on here before or whatever, but I'm all about helping people. I just don't want you to join my heart attack club, Aaron. I have a private club and no members are wanted.
Thank you for not including me.
Right?
Well, my target market literally is women over 35 that do not recognize the 10 to 12 symptoms that they have.
So are you re-inviting me now that you just disinvited me?
Well, I don't want you to join the club, but you can join how not to join the club.
Got it.
That's my club. I have a cat club because I eat a cat every morning for breakfast. Okay, Sadie, tell her what a cat is.
With the cat, I missed it because I know you said it when you introduced yourself the other day.
Yeah,
It's a great line opener, that you're gonna attract attention anywhere by that line.
yeah, and I've done it many
Yeah.
thousands of times. A cat is a cucumber, an avocado, and a tomato.
Really?
Every single morning. That's what I have to start my day off.
That's excellent.
And I load it up with sprouts and seeds and a bunch of other good stuff. But metabolistic way and chemical way, that will start your metabolism burning just about quicker than anything that's out there.
Wow.
It's proven. It's been
I
around.
love that.
Been around 100 years. I didn't make it up. I basically studied under a doctor out of Austria named Dr. Mayer, M-A-Y-R. He taught it for 70 years. And he started the whole Alkalarian thought and the system. I just adopted it and broke it down to a lot less cost than what they were charging. Because he taught it for 70 years, but he was charging $1,000 a week. 100 years ago, that was a lot of money. And
Wow.
I just condensed that all into a simple program, which I've been teaching and living. I'm an Alkalarian. I walk the talk, 82 years young. I'm going to stay that way. And like I say, but the program itself, it takes care of most things: diabetes, heart attacks, cancer, overweight. It doesn't matter what it is. But I'm focusing on heart attacks because when you have over 700,000 people die each year of heart attack and heart disease, that's my target market, because that's a lot of people and nobody seems to be talking about it. And then they die from a heart attack. And then the people say, well, why did he die? He should have known not to do that. But people just don't recognize the symptoms. We have 4 or 5. Women have 10 to 12. And they just don't recognize the symptoms. We're too simple. You back on board?
I love that both Nigel and Richard are at resorts right now.
That's right. We're trying to outdo ourselves.
I really like Nigel's resort. I asked him the other day, where is that? He didn't answer.
Yeah, I think that is.
Okay.
I think that
Oh,
is
good.
one of the
How's
South
that?
Sea Islands.
All right, I'm going to stop broadcasting on Facebook. I'm going to stop this recording. Sorry, everybody. I had to restart my computer.